What's going on, guys? AryozGaming here. This is my first video, so if I'm stuttery or if, the commentary is maybe bland or something like that, cut me some slack. Alright, so the game I'm loading up here is Sudden Strike Gold. It is about, this, this is actually, see that coming soon, this game is actually like 16, 17 years old, so that these upcoming games that are being shown, these are actually, they were upcoming like 16 years ago or whatever. And it's actually ironic because I actually got this game recently for free because it came with Sudden Strike 4, which came out like a month ago. So it's kind of ironic that they just left these, things in here. Anyway, so a little about this game. It is a real-time tactics, which is a subgenre of a real-time strategy, RTS. It is actually quite a slow-paced game for a real-time strategy or a subgenre of one. I mean, I don't know if necessarily a real-time tactics is supposed to be slow-paced. I would assume it is, but anyway, yeah, it's a pretty slow-paced game. It is somewhat limited in what you can do in terms of playing, options to play. Like the only options you have to play are the campaigns, the missions. Well, the campaigns are missions, and then yeah, the single missions. So yeah, it's really all you can play. There's no skirmish mode or anything like that. Multiplayer is actually also kind of limited. And of course, there's no server or anything. This game is like 16, 17 years old, and it also has no server. So you have to, put in people's IP or whatever, or find some service online or some server online that someone made for it as no official server or anything like that. Anyway, but yeah, the multiplayer, probably really hard to find people to play with. But even if you do play it, there's only certain maps that you play, and when you play them, they're the same thing every time. So like you get the same troops and stuff. Anyway, I'll go ahead and start up a game, and I'll continue talking. So we're gonna do the Russian campaign first. It's got a nice little cutscene. My audio is actually kind of bugged. For the when I'm not in game. Like when I'm in game, the audio will work, but it will not work when I'm on the menus and stuff. The audio here isn't really that great. It's just a few gunshots and stuff, so you're not really missing out on too much. But yeah, so that's a little cutscene there. Pretty interesting old little thing being shown there. 16 years old or so. And this is a little briefing of the mission. It speaks for you, but of course can't hear it because my audio is bugged. The first mission of the Russian campaign is basically a tutorial. It's partially a tutorial. There's not really any tutorial in this game, which kind of sucks because this game is actually kind of complicated in a few ways. Like there should be a tutorial, and there's some things that they don't really tell you about, and I'll get into that when the game starts. So yeah, this briefing you can't view in game. You view a brief version of it. No pun intended. You can when you're in the game. There's an objectives option, and it shows you like a skewed down version of this. But yeah, this is the full objective, so you could have read that to know a little more, maybe. Yeah, and the little map. This is basically what you're doing. We're red, so yeah, you start out here, and yeah, I'll just get into it. Yeah, it kind of bugs out when it gets into the game because it's really old, and I'm playing on 1920 by 1080 resolution, but this game is 1024 by 768 max. That could probably be pretty annoying. Yeah, anyway, so what we're doing here is we want to get up on this elevation, and these supply trucks can't go through this cliff. Troops can go up the cliff, but the supply trucks can't, and there's a bunch of mines. You can't see them until you hit this sweep mines button. And yeah. Alright, so what's going on here? It's actually quite a bit to explain. So this is a spy plane. I'm not controlling it. It was just scripted to go through here. Yeah, this is Fog of War. The Fog of War in this game resets, so you know it doesn't stick there when you go to it. And yeah, mines only appear when you hit the Sweet Mines button, and they only appear around your around the guys when you hit the Sweet Mines. So like if I hit Sweet Mines right here, it won't show a mine that's like right here. So I'd have to move over here to Sweet Mine that would be there. So mines can be pretty tricky, but mines usually aren't existent. They're usually just not around. So you usually don't have to worry about them. This is basically just like, since it's the first mission, it's partially a tutorial, more or less. Anyway, yeah, so I'll just explain what units I got here. These are supply trucks, these are snipers, and these are riflemen. Now, units differentiate between the factions. There are Russians, Germans, and Allies, and then there's some kind of somewhat sub-factions like the British and the French, but they're not like actual factions. They're just like partial, or they're in certain missions and stuff. Anyway, so we're playing as the Russians. It's fixed, you know, because it's a campaign. You can't play a different faction for this mission. And now what we're doing here is we're up on this cliff, and see these trucks are full of guys. I mean, this is just a common, so it's just for part of the mission. See that they're not shooting at me? It's because when you're up on a cliff, the enemy can't see you up there. I mean, it's honestly kind of weird. Like, it looks like they should be able to fucking see me. But yeah, I mean, cliffs are like one of the #1 things of this game. Like, you always want to use them. You just get free shots. Like, I just killed all those guys. And I lost nothing. So yeah, cliffs are probably one of the most important things in this game. Yeah, so we got some supply trucks. Supply trucks are pretty dang important as well. There's a few things you can do with them. You can make dragon tooths, which are these little pyramid-looking things that can hinder enemy movement. It doesn't hamper enemy movement. It doesn't really do that much. You can also make hedgehogs. They do the same thing. Usually you don't really need to be making these. I've pretty much never bothered to make these. But yeah, if you want, you can use these to hamper enemy movement for defense. And yeah, so I'm gonna try to explain as much as I can in my first video about this game, because it's actually pretty complicated. So I'll just try to go through a lot of the stuff here. So supply trucks, they're basically what keeps you alive. I mean, that makes sense. They can repair vehicles. I don't have any vehicles besides my supply trucks to speak of. They repair vehicles, they can repair artillery, they resupply your units, and they can, you know, make hedgehogs, dragon teeth, and they can make pontoon bridges. Pontoon bridges are things you can make over water that give you, you know, a flank, or another way around. Ah, there's actually one on this map. I thought there wasn't going to be one on this map, but yeah. There's a pontoon bridge right here. And when you select the area to make the pontoon bridge, it's a fixed area in the missions where you can make a pontoon bridge. And it makes a pontoon bridge, and then your troops can cross it. Usually, what can be kind of annoying about pontoon bridges is they're really slim. Like, see, this one's only, you know, 1 tile. So, when you're trying to get a bunch of units across, it'll probably take a while. And also, they'll be, like, funneled, usually, if you know what that term means. It means, like, all your units will come, like, slowly and, like, one at a time, and they'll be able to get picked off easily if there's enemies going on the other side. But anyway, yeah. Another thing that can be a problem with slim entryways and stuff, this is just in general, is pathfinding is actually pretty bad in this game. That's maybe one of the downfalls of this game. Pathfinding is absolutely terrible. So like if I'm selecting a bunch of troops like right here to go across this bridge to get right here, they might go like this way, like go way over here even though there's no way over here to get to the other side, or they'll like go over here and even though you want them go this way. And I'll do that a lot more with vehicles because vehicles are bigger, and infantry can fit 4 in one tile, while vehicles are only 1 per tile. So yeah, that can be a problem. I'm just gonna try to keep explaining as much as I can about what is going on in this mission, and what you're seeing. Anyway, yeah. Like, when you play this game, they don't tell you how to do, like, much of anything. You really have to learn a lot on your own. Like, I got this game when I was probably, first when I was like 7, which is kind of ironic, because it's actually rated E for everyone, but there's blood and stuff in it, as you can see. Anyway, yeah, I got this game when I was like 7, and I'm not randomly saying that, it's actually, I got it when I was like 7, and I didn't know a lot of the stuff until, like, I picked up this game again randomly, like, 5 years later, and I was still learning stuff. So yeah, there's a lot to learn in this game. So anyway, other stuff we got here, machine gun I captured from the enemy. This is an artillery piece, MG34. It has to be manned by an infantry. It can be manned by any infantry. There's no, artillery handling infantry or anything like that. Machine guns, they're actually probably one of the lesser artillery pieces. They're actually not really that good. They're not even that good against infantry, actually. They're relatively weak. Like, when they shoot, they spray. Like, you can see that those bullets kind of went all over the place. So it kind of it doesn't really hit the target that you're trying to hit that well. Yeah, artillery pieces cannot be moved except by trucks. You don't get any trucks in this mission, like just normal trucks. The Russian one is called the ZIS-5 truck. But yeah, you can only move artillery pieces with trucks, except for certain field guns. These are called field guns, and anti-tank guns. These ones are manned by 2 guys. These can be slowly but surely moved by the 2 men handling it. It's pretty slow, but it can, come in handy if you need it, or if you don't have any trucks or anything like that. Another thing about this base down here is I can't control these units. They're actually allied units, or neutral, I guess. And but when the objective is, to join up with the troops to the south, when I get my supply trucks and stuff down here, then this stuff will all be mine. But anyway, yeah, you actually don't usually see neutral or allied units in missions. This is actually very rare sighting, you could say. Yeah, they usually don't have allied or neutral units. You can't really do much with neutral allied units. Just a little more about neutral allied units. You can't heal them. You can't resupply them and stuff like that. It's kind of limited in what you can do with allied units, and that might limit the multiplayer a little more. Anyway, I'm trying to get through as much as I can here. I mean, this may be kind of boring, but I'm just trying to explain as much as I can. This is my first video, and I'm going to be doing a series of this game. Yeah, so the machine gun, I want to explain a little more about it. You can't move it without a truck. It's stationary. Pretty much artillery is used for defense for the most part. MG34 it's a German piece. There's actually no Russian machine gun. Oddly, there's just the MG34. So there's no artillery piece of a machine gun. That's actually an odd thing about this game. There's a lot of artillery pieces that are German, and there's no, Russian or Allied variants of them. So, like, there's, like, mortars, and the Germans are the only ones that have mortars. I mean, it's pretty weird. The expansion of this game, which I'm playing right now, the gold version, actually kind of remedies that, I guess. The Russians get a unit called the light grenade launcher, which you actually see very rarely, but it's a infantry unit that has a mortar, rather than which is a little different than just a stationary artillery piece of a mortar. Yeah, anyway, okay, I'm gonna just try to keep playing as I go along here. Just talk as I go along here. So yeah, I'm gonna try to explain a little more here. Yeah, machine guns, probably one of the worst artillery pieces, I would say, because they do not do that much damage, actually, to infantry. They're actually pretty good against vehicles. And they're obviously not going to do any damage to tanks, except an odd mechanic about this game, you can actually damage like really light tanks, like super light tanks or just light tanks in general with bullets. And in some cases, these units, snipers, not riflemen, but snipers, they can actually one-shot some light vehicles, some light tanks from behind. And that's another mechanic about this game. Vehicles take more damage from the sides or the rear, which, you know, kind of makes sense, looking at how warfare worked in World War II and stuff. You always wanted to hit tanks in the rear to do as much damage as possible. Yeah, anyway, machine guns, pretty much you want to avoid those. They're actually not really that good. Like, if you're in a mission and the enemy has some machine guns that you can capture, if it's, like, hard to capture them, it's probably not really worth capturing them. But yeah, so we're going through this field, and you see how slow-paced this game is. Look how slow my units are moving. And I have the game speed on max, mind you. Let's see, game speed. See, game speed's on max. Moving this slowly. Yeah. A little minor thing, it didn't tell me that there's mines here, which is kind of stupid. Like, I would be playing through this and I would hit these mines and I would lose because I lost my supply trucks or whatever. But yeah, it doesn't tell you that there's mines here, so I had to hit the sweet mines button, which I use hotkey S for. Yeah, kind of dumb. It doesn't tell you that there's mines over here. At least I don't think it did. One thing about this is, see these little signs? Usually when you see these signs, there's mines. It means there's mines around that area. I mean, it doesn't tell you that anywhere, but these little signs that you know, you can't read that or anything like that. But usually when you see those signs, it means there's mines. You see the signs, it means there's mines. So cheesy. But anyway, yeah, there is a lot about this game that I feel I want to tell you guys as much about this game, about the, you know, mechanics and stuff of this game as possible, because when I was, you know, playing this game, I had to learn it all myself. So I want to try maybe do what I can to make it a little easier. So yeah, this first mission is like hardly even a mission, honestly. It's just more or less a tutorial. Basically told you how to sweep mine, or how to deal with mines. How cliffs are important, kind of nonchalantly tells you how cliffs are important. And yeah. So yeah, it just redirected my screen over here. This is my next objective, destroy ammunition depot. I got control all the units over here since I got over here. Not really obvious, unless you, I guess, look at the objectives. Yeah, this spy plane is scripted just like that first one. Spy planes just reveal the fog of war as they're flying over. And a thing about planes, just in general, planes usually are really ineffective when you do get them. Very rarely do you get them on mission, but when you do get them, you have to be really careful with them, because the enemy AI usually gets tons of anti-air whenever you do have planes. But yeah, that's another thing I'd like to touch up on in this game, just real briefly, is the AI is usually stacked against you. They usually have all sorts of units, while you have, you know, a fraction of what they have. But anyway, yeah, so what we're doing here is we've got some BM-13 Katyushas. These are really effective artillery pieces, I guess you would call them. And they're technically trucks, but they're artillery. Yeah, they're really effective. Random, but whenever I see these, the launchers at the top, I always think it looks like a screen door or something. It doesn't really look like a launcher. But anyway, yeah. I still like the way they look, the way the art looks for a 16-year-old game. Yeah, anyway, me personally. And we got some Katyushas. These are really effective artillery pieces. They have 16 shots, and they fire them. It's, you know, you click once, you click this launch button, and they just fire them all. They just start firing all of them. You don't single shot them or anything like that. You know, you can actually do a little more than just, you know, click away and then all the rockets are fired. You can do a little more than that. One thing you can do is you can launch at a location. You can select the location launch, and then you can hit the stop button, and it'll fire like one missile. It's pretty inaccurate because I selected like right here, not missile, not right here. So it is better to fire a salvo of them in one general area to hit what you're trying to hit, and you'll maybe hit some other stuff as well. But yeah, so you're supposed to destroy this little ammunition depot. You got more than enough here to obliterate it. We're just gonna go ahead and fire all 3 Katyushas at once. This is gonna be a fireworks show. Yeah, so a thing about selecting multiple artillery pieces at once, usually only with howitzers, and we don't have any howitzers in this mission, but howitzers or Katyushas, is when you select to fire when you want to fire all of them at once, you can't just hit launch once. Look, only one will be firing. I gotta hit launch 2 more times, and they'll all be firing. Let's see the fireworks. Yeah, I mean, I got fog of war, so I can't see this stuff being destroyed, but surely it is being destroyed. Now I have to destroy this bridge. Yeah, if you destroy like a building or something, and it's in fog of war, then you see the spy plane came along and revealed it. It won't show that it's destroyed until it's revealed, but it is destroyed. Kind of an odd thing that you should know. Yeah, a little more about the units I had. I wasn't explaining enough. I'm trying to explain too much. Like, there's so much to explain about this game. I'm almost losing my breath. I want to explain a little bit about these snipers. These sniper units I get. You only get 3 of them in this mission, and you rarely get snipers. Snipers are one of the best units. They're one of your most valuable units, like supply trucks. They're more valuable than supply trucks, I would say. They fire very slowly. But they have a high sight range, and sight range is one of the most important things in this game because the fog of war reshrouds. They have very high sight range. They have a slow rate of fire, but they'll pretty much kill any infantry in one shot, and they can destroy a lot of vehicles in like 1 or 2 shots, or at least disable them. And they have very long range. Like these snipers can probably fire possibly off screen, and yeah, they're very effective units. And riflemen are basically your bread and butter usually. They're like submachine gunners. These are the guys that I had staying at this base. Yeah, riflemen are pretty good. The Russian rifleman shoots slow compared to the Allied rifleman. The Allied rifleman shoots fast because he has the M1 Garand. But yeah, the Russian rifleman shoots slow but does pretty decent damage. And it's actually, the balance in this game is really odd because there's just the 3 factions and you play only in missions. You don't play skirmishes or anything like that. So balance is really weird because, you're only playing scripted games. But there's, no producing of units since it's a real-time tactics. And there's, no selection of what you get. You're just given whatever units you get in a mission. So, what riflemen you have is you're basically forced to use them, and you don't get different ones for that faction. So, like, if I wanted to have, Allied riflemen that are shooting faster for a certain purpose, then I wouldn't be able to since I'm the Russians or whatever, Yeah, Russian riflemen. I think they actually have more health than an American rifleman. I might be wrong, but they have a 125 health. I think the American rifleman is 100 health. Yeah. Yeah, a little bit about this stat bar down at the bottom, down here. I mean, you can't see it unless you hover over a unit. But yeah, this little bar down here tells you what the unit is. And I mean, it kind of tells you just a little bit about what it's armed with. The life points is what the green bar is. That's what health is. The purple bar, that's experience. And sometimes that'll be empty. Like, for example, on this submachine gunner, it's empty. That's experience. And that's how effective a unit will battle in general, will fight in general, and how strong a unit is. So, like, for example, this submachine gunner is 0 experience. He will not be able to move as fast, not be able to shoot as fast, not be able to do as much damage, etc., as, for example, rifleman with 1,000 experience. 1,000 is the max. And they give you some max experience guys for this easy ass mission. Yeah. And how units gain experience is actually something you can abuse. They gain experience either by firing their weapons, not necessarily by killing enemies, but just by firing their weapons, or by taking damage, and not necessarily by taking damage from enemies. So, if you see what I'm getting at, you can, for example, just fire at the ground, or you can't fire at the ground with a submachine gunner, for example. Like if I select fire at the ground, he'll throw a grenade at it, and that doesn't gain experience as much as I would want him firing his machine gun. But yeah, certain units you can select to fire on like one of your tanks or something like that, and just gain experience for free and get stronger units for free, basically. And if you were thinking supply trucks might run out of supplies, something I forgot to mention, supply trucks, see their at the bottom, see the first from the left yellow box, that is their ammunition. And you see that's going up automatically. Supply trucks, their ammo supply will automatically replenish over time. So technically, you kind of do get resources in this game, in a sense, even though it's a real-time tactics game, not your average real-time strategy game where you're able to produce stuff. But it technically does have resources. Like you just sit a supply truck around and it gains ammunition, which is kind of a weird mechanic. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of required because if ammunition ran out and supply trucks couldn't give any more ammunition, well then the game will be over. So yeah, but they only regain ammunition when they're idle. See, when it's moving, it's not gonna regain ammunition. It stops, and now it's gaining ammunition again. But yeah, I'd like to explain a little more about these units. Riflemen, a little more about riflemen. They can lay mines. This lay mines button. That's how you lay mines. Riflemen are the guys that lay mines. There's no, lay mine expert. Riflemen are the guys that lay mines. No, not some machine gunners or anything like that, just riflemen. Mines are, you really rarely use them. There's some missions where they tell you to use mines. You actually don't have to, but they can be effective. They, in certain cases, they will only work against tanks and vehicles. And when you lay a mine, you'll be able to see it, but the enemy won't. So like, watch, he's laying a mine. See that little white dot right there? Yeah, that's a mine. The enemy won't be able to see it, or the AI won't react to it or anything. Your vehicles will not roll over it and get themselves destroyed. They'll roll around it also. So yeah, riflemen are pretty good. A little lay mine feature is just kind of a little bonus of them. Generally, you usually don't need mines because usually your artillery pieces are enough to get rid of enemy vehicles, and plus you have to kind of go out to lay mines, and you have to relay them and stuff like that, and there's no guarantee that the enemy will roll over mines unless you have like a choke point. If you have like a choke point like this bridge, like laying mines on a bridge, that's probably one of the best things you can do. It'll blow the bridge up. Laying mines at a choke point is probably really effective. So if you ever get choke points, you definitely want to lay mines on them. Maybe, at least. If you want to fight the tediousness of it. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, gaining experience is pretty important. Your units won't really gain experience effectively just in battle. Like if they're battling the enemy, they won't really gain experience that quickly. You're really better off just either relying on guys that have more experience to be stronger and do more damage and stuff. Or you want to train your units. What I call training your units is firing, force firing on your stuff and kind of abusing that, just giving your troops experience. Because I mean, the AI is stacked against you in a lot of cases, and you will see that in the following videos, in the upcoming videos that I might be uploading. Yeah, you really need everything to use it. You need to use everything to your advantage that you can. So if that means, quote unquote, abusing, force firing to gain experience on your troops and stuff like that, then by all means you got to do it. But yeah, little more about the units I've got here. These are field guns. Now that's kind of, a generic term. Well, I don't know if a field gun is actually a term for a type of artillery piece, like from World War II or whatever. This game is World War II. I've never actually said that. Not really, not explicitly, but yeah, this game is World War II based. But yeah, field guns, what they do in this game is they have pretty long range. They actually have a short barrel, but they have long range, longer range than an anti-tank gun. I don't have one to compare here. Just I have all field guns. But field guns have a long attack range, longer than anti-tank guns. And they have a high rate of fire, relatively low ammunition capacity, so you really don't have a supply truck around these. And they are most effective against infantry. They do really high splash damage or area of effect damage, and they're really effective against infantry. They still do decent damage against tanks, and they'll take out light tanks and vehicles pretty much with ease, and they'll be pretty quick at taking out medium tanks, relatively quick at taking out medium tanks, and they will do pretty much no damage to heavy tanks, but medium tanks will do pretty good damage too. They are definitely better, as every unit is. They are a lot better when they have more experience. So if you have, the thing about artillery pieces is if you have more experienced infantry, you can go ahead and just take off by unloading the guys off this artillery piece and put your more experienced guys on it, and that'll make the artillery piece more effective. You're just switching out your infantry. Of course, you might want to be using these infantry for what purposes they can be used for rather than putting them on an artillery piece. But I mean, if you're not using these guys that much, or you need an artillery more than you need the infantry, then you ought to put your most experienced guys on the field guns. What my general rule of thumb is the more quote unquote useless units or less versatile units, infantry, I use them for artillery. Submachine gunners are somewhat, I would say that they're less versatile than riflemen. I'm not even talking about riflemen using mines, but like submachine gunners are actually not that effective, just in general. They have short attack range, and they don't kill that quickly. Like, they don't do that much damage. They do have hand grenades. See that other ammunition bar? That's I kind of got off topic when I was talking about the bar at the bottom earlier. But that first ammunition bar, that is their primary weapon. They will fire that on most units. And the second bar is their secondary ammo, and you usually don't know what that is. But for riflemen, it's mines, and for submachine gunners, it is grenades. These grenades in this game are on steroids because grenades can like obliterate buildings. Like, watch, I'll just throw one grenade at this building right here. See, it did like 200 damage to that building. I mean, that's a fair amount of damage. Like, if I throw like 5 grenades, the building starts to show damage. But yeah, these grenades, well, yeah, I guess they're not super, they don't deal a lot of damage to the building directly. They might deal a lot of damage to the guys inside if there's infantry inside. But they will actually deal a lot of damage to tanks. Like, they can actually, like, 1 or 2 shot some tanks. So, submachine gunners can actually be your kind of last resort for anti-tank. Of course, they have to get really close. Like, let's see, if I force fire at the ground, let's see. He can actually throw a grenade that far and pretty accurately. But, yeah, that's like his max range. That's pretty accurate. Yeah, it is actually pretty effective against tanks. Of course, you have to get really close, and I mean, the enemy usually having high sight range units and stuff will, be able to kill you before you get up to them. But yeah, I'm just trying to explain all that I can in this first video because you will be seeing a lot of stuff in this game that you might not understand. There's a lot of complications in it. But yeah, about buildings and garrisoning them, you can put guys in it. You actually can't really control them when they're inside. They just go through the door. And, they're inside, and you can see in the top left what units are there. And then these are their bars. They're really tiny, and you don't really know what bars for each, but I mean, you can see their bars up here also. You can't really control the infantry inside the building. Look, I have, no command options besides unload and hold fire. So, that you can't even select enemy units to fire on. They just automatically fire on enemy units that come along. And sometimes they won't fire, sometimes they will fire. But it is, I mean, it doesn't really sound that promising to put guys in a building, but it actually can be. And I'll give you a few scenarios where it would be really helpful to do that. You could put like one infantryman in a building, and he will basically hunker down, and he may or may not live for a long time. It's basically random number generator RNG for how infantry get hit when they're in buildings. I haven't really, of the long time I played this game, I haven't really seen any or noticed any how-tos of how infantry take damage or how they take more damage and stuff like that when they're in buildings. It just seems to be pretty much random. Guys are in buildings, they just take, pretty much random amounts of damage. Yeah. What a general pretty good strategy to do is if, you're maybe defending a city or something like that. It's pretty good to put like one infantry in like each building, and then, like I said, we'll like kind of hunker down, and the enemy might have to fire like 1,000,000 shots or completely obliterate the building before that guy is either has to go out the building or is killed with the building. Kind of minor thing. If the building is destroyed, before it goes to red health, there's a very small portion where it'll go to red health. If it goes to red health and there's still guys inside, they'll start evacuating the building at this rate. Let's see, this has 4 guys in it. They'll evacuate, one at a time. So yeah, if it goes to red, then they'll evacuate one at a time. If it's destroyed while they're evacuating, then the guys inside that didn't make it out will go down with the building. So yeah, a little more important things about buildings. And most of the stuff that I'm telling you, the game, like I think I've said before, the game does not. There's no tutorial or anything that they really tell you about where they tell you about this stuff. Other things you can do with buildings. You might notice I just toggled the hold fire. It's hotkey T, or you can click it. Sometimes what you might want to do is hit the hold fire button and put a guy in a building. And what this will do is he will go in the building, or you can, click hold fire from the building. That's one of the options you can do when you're in a building. Put a guy in a building. Usually one with high sight range is what you want to do. Maybe not a sniper. One guy with high sight range is an officer, and he's pretty much made for scouting. But I don't have any here to show you. You want to put a high sight range unit, and if you don't have any officers or snipers, you just want to put whatever units you can get if you have to scout, or if you need it for defending. Usually you want to do this for defending. You put an infantry in the building. You just put one, and you hold fire, and he will not reveal himself, and he will show the area, around the building. You won't be able to control where he looks or where he reveals exactly, but it's, you know, usually within vicinity of the building. And sometimes you'll see it'll like switch views, like you'll be able to see here, and then randomly you'll be able to see over here, and then you'll be able to see over here. And like the fog of war will keep changing, and that's, I guess, you know, the infantry inside going from window to window or what have you. Yeah, generally for defending, you really want to do this. Just put a guy in like the outermost buildings of the perimeter of the area you're defending, and then put artillery pieces like behind it, not directly behind it, because a little thing about this game, watch, I'll try to force fire through these barns. You can't shoot through them, so you don't want to put, you know, artillery pieces right behind it, unless it's like a mortar or something that can lob over it. You don't want to put, you know, tanks or infantry or direct fire artillery pieces right behind buildings, but maybe to the back and the side. So like right here, maybe, if you're trying to kill enemies that are coming from over here. That can be very effective because you'll be able to kill the enemies before they even see you. The only way the guy can be revealed is either if you put him in the building while an enemy can see you going in the building, or just not even while they can see the entryway of the building, just while they can see the building, which is actually kind of a small bug. So like, for example, see the door is right here on this side of the building, but if there's an enemy infantry that can see me go, or just an enemy right here that can see the building, even if I hold fire on, so I wouldn't be revealing myself, if they had vision of the building, they would be able to tell that I'm in the building, oddly. But yeah, they won't be able to tell that you're in the building either from that, or if their infantry tries to enter the building. So they have to get pretty close in that case to be able to tell if there's guys in the building. And you might actually have to do that in certain cases to find enemy scouts if the enemy is, you know, raining down upon you with artillery. Usually if that's happening and you don't see enemy enemies, is because they are scouting you with either units that are hidden in buildings or they're high sight range units. But yeah, another little thing about that specifically scouting with buildings, if you see a guard tower, or yeah, if you see certain buildings like a guard tower, these have a bonus sight range added to them when you put a guy in them. And watch the sight range bonus. I can see all the way over here. And sight range will be even higher if I have a higher experience unit in there. Like, while I have him in here, I'll put this max XP rifleman in here, and we'll see the sight range change. Let's watch field of view. See, it went up a little bit. But yeah, you usually want to. And riflemen aren't the best for, you know, sight range, but I mean, I have snipers. Like, I would probably be using those for the guide towers. But usually you want to use officers or whatever you can get best sight range for guard towers and buildings for you know, lookouts basically. And other buildings that have sight range like this include the lodge, which is ironic. Like this tiny little building. I don't know if it's an oversight or something, but this actually has a really high sight range bonus, like when you put a guy in it as the sight range of a guard tower, more or less. But yeah, lodges are actually really good for that purpose. And another one is the watchtower. It's a slim black building, basically the same as a guard tower. But yeah, those are really good for sight range too. They hold 5 guys versus 2 that the guard tower can only hold. And those are actually only in Sunstrike Gold missions. But yeah. This video is, yes, I don't even know if you've gotten this far, but I'm just trying to explain as much as possible about this game before I really make a lot of my videos. This is basically, in a sense, a tutorial video to an extent. Not just my first mission of playthrough in the Sunstrike. Yeah, all that time I was talking, my supply trucks have almost replenished the max ammunition. And I can pretty much end the mission right now just for this bridge. I'll try to just say a few more general things I don't think I've covered about this game. You see this this barbed wire fence. Infantry cannot go through it, but tanks can roll over it, and you can also destroy it like this. You can destroy it with, shelling and stuff. And trucks and stuff can't go over it either. So that can be it usually is just, it appears in certain missions. You can't make it or anything like that. But it's good to know stuff about that. Trees I didn't explain about. Trees will limit your field of view. So, like, for example, see this, some machine gunner is moving up to these trees, and see, I can see like right here and over here, but I can't see directly behind the trees until I get past them. So that's pretty important to know. And it's somewhat inconsistent, but you can use tree lines for a fence or for hiding your troops, but it's somewhat inconsistent because you can sometimes see in between the trees. So it's sort of inconsistent if you try to use them for, tactical strategies and stuff like that. But it's good to know that stuff about it. Got my voice getting hoarse. Oh, see, these kinds of bridges, these small bridges, only infantry can go across these bridges, not vehicles. Only infantry. That's good to know. If you're, going, why the fuck is my tank going the other way and it's not going on the over the bridge? And that would be why. If you ever see a railroad, that's just cosmetic. There's no trains or anything in this game. There are no boats in this game. There are in subsequent versions. In Sunstrike 2 there are. I don't know about Sunstrike 3 or Sunstrike 4 actually. But yeah. Some other things you can do. Supply trucks can repair bridges. You just hit the repair bridge button and you hover over a bridge that is destroyed. See, this one is, still intact, so this is showing a red X. But if it was destroyed, then it would show a little, repair bridge indicator. But yeah, pretty much, it is very important to know most of the stuff that I've gone through this video. If you do decide to play Sunstrike, or if you think it may seem like an interesting game, it is a niche game, I will say. I honestly enjoy it. I feel it could be better in some ways, like the pathfinding could be fixed, and some, abusable mechanics could be fixed, like force firing on your troops for experience. The AI could be maybe changed somehow, so that they're not, stacked against you in terms of quantity, and actually have, better scripting or better just AI in general. Yeah, this game, it is, I think I said earlier, mentioned earlier, it's about 16, 17 years old. It's from about 2000, 2001. It's got pretty decent graphics, I'd say, for that time period. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that much about, graphics in terms of, what period and like how these stack up. But this game, it's pretty decent. Like it could be shaped up in some ways, so to speak. But I think it's pretty playable. And the multiplayer, like I kind of hinted at, it's not that great. I'll explain a little more about the multiplayer right here. On multiplayer, I think I mentioned about allied units. You can't resupply them or heal them or anything. So that would kind of limit your teamwork. If your teammate doesn't have any supply trucks, their tanks are damaged, you can't resupply them or repair them. So I feel like that would maybe make multiplayer better if they include that. And yeah, multiplayer is pretty limited, and the replayability is pretty limited because there's only missions, there's no skirmish. I mean, you can replay the missions and stuff, but yeah. Oh yeah, one more key thing you should know about as important in this game. This pause button, or hitting the pause or break button on your computer. It will pause the game, but you can see I'm still able to move my screen around. Still able to select units. I can still move units and stuff. And you will see when I unpause the game, my units will do whatever I commanded them to do. So this is actually part of the game, believe it or not. I mean, you can't do this multiplayer, but this is, I'm pretty dang sure, part of what they want you to do in the single player. Like, this is part of what helps you beat the stacked AI. And what pretty much confirms my belief on that is in the trailer of Sunstrike 4, which was released about a month ago. Those trailers a few months ago. They actually go over briefly the pausing and unpausing the game. So it's actually pretty much a mechanic of the game, at least with the single player. But yeah, that is actually definitely something that can come in handy in some cases. Like, if you want to barely dodge, losing certain units or something like that, and stuff like that. Another thing that I think is actually pretty important in this game is saving and loading. Now, it is almost cheating, really, but in some cases, the AI is just so stacked, it really just seems impossible to win. So, it almost feels in some cases you really just have to keep saving the game, and then, doing certain things, and then loading back in order to win. It can get pretty ridiculous, and it'll make games really long, but in general, this game is pretty slow paced, so that isn't really much of an issue. But yeah, games can be very long, and you may have to save and load in certain cases to win. At least I've found some missions are like impossible to win without saving and loading, because you don't get new units except by scripted reinforcements and only in certain cases and stuff like that. So yeah. And you may want to save and then play a little bit to see when you get reinforcements and what reinforcements you get, to know what to do up to that point and stuff like that, because it doesn't always tell you. So there are some iffy things about this game that can be tedious and that you have to learn, like I did. The last thing I will explain is the difficulty setting. There's I actually have it set on hard just to make the game a little more of a challenge. It really doesn't do much. The only thing it does is it changes the amount of damage your units deal and the amount of units the amount of damage your units take. That's literally all it does, at least from what I can tell. So yeah, I'm now going to end this mission. It's an easy mission, very easy. Triple Katyusha launch. I could have paused it and then selected all in the fire, and then unpaused it, and then they would all fire. And victory. So yeah, that is mission 1 of the Sudden Strike Gold Original Russian campaign. Hope you guys tune in for more. That is my first video. Thank you so much for watching. I will more than likely be uploading more in the future. Be sure to subscribe. And I would like to say briefly, shout out to my friend the Red Army for inspiring me a little bit to start YouTube. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys maybe take a look at Sunstrike, because I think it's a pretty interesting game. Hope you learned a lot about the game, because I tried to make this first video at least, and probably the subsequent ones will be a lot. There will be a lot of informational stuff within them, because I feel this game requires a lot of instruction to really learn it. So, hope you guys enjoyed. I will go ahead and end the video here, and I'll see you guys next time.